Oh, look at all,
Recording in progress.
look at all these
All
snakes.
these things.
Wow, awesome.
Wow.
Oh, damn it. Damn it. Hold on. Oh, wait. Sorry. Ah,
Leah, if you can make me a co-host, I might be able to help you a little bit with the.
yeah. I can't find Ariel and
Ariel, you just need to unmute yourself. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome.
There we go.
There we
Oh,
go.
great. Look at all these faces. I'm used to such small groups. You guys are amazing. Look at that. Wow, awesome. So here we are together, and Leah has asked me, as your fairy godmother, to come along today and share a bit about myth. And that's what we're up to today. So, the reason I'm coming as a fairy godmother today is a granter of wishes and blessings that I stepped into this archetype when I began my journey in my crondom years, which I'm an antiquity now. Let me tell you, I'm 80 years old. I am fully out there on the scale. But that means I've gotten to practice being a fairy godmother for almost, well, I don't know, I don't live in time, a long time. And it's been an incredible journey for me to step in and be a myth maker and to be creating the myth of my life in this way. It came to be like this. I started being really impulse to write something for Gaia to and the subtle realms, for all the fey realms, the elemental realms, to get people to cooperate with the fact that we're not going to be around unless we start paying attention to all the realms being connected as one. So I wrote something called Gaia's New Dream Coat, which is just so precious for the one heart, for the Gaiac mind. And what happened was mother impulsed me to step out of, oh, well, let me just tell you who I was functioning as an archetype here. Oh, can you show them that? Let's see. There we go. Can they see that big? No, I can't figure ever how to make this look so you can see it there. Can you
we
see
can do
that?
it. Yeah.
That was me functioning with my sword, being the archetype of the initiator. That's who I'd been up to that point. I forgot the a priori until mother said you can shift gears now. And so the initiator archetype, has been my primary archetype in my lifetime, whom I've embodied in myriad ways. But as I came into this new role description, if you will, of fairy godmother, to be able to grant wishes and really bless people with my loving presence was a really nice shift of gears for me. So I had, up until that time, Leah could tell you, I don't know whether you want to go on about that level of stuff or not. We can backtrack. I don't live in time, but in terms of, that stuff. Should I just say about that, or do you want to say about that? The 13 Moon Mystery School and all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I think you should tell us about it because it's such a huge part of all our story. Or do you
Yeah.
want me to talk about it?
Oh, as you wish, but either way.
I think
If
people want to hear from you.
well, the 13 Moon Mystery School came about with a bang, me being flight lifted out of my life in the mountains of Utah and dropped into Maui. Mother said I was to be there for an initiation for a period of time, wouldn't tell me how long, to go with nothing, bring no computer, no books, no nothing. I was on some kind of sabbatical. Well, it turned out that after 6 months of asking every day, am I cooked yet? Am I cooked yet? Am I done? The answer was no, you're not. And frankly, you're going to stay here now and write this piece of work, which turned out to be The Alchemy of Ecstasy, which is pure light food from the goddess. I mean, it was written at the base of Mount Haleakala. I had to be in a really feminine environment in order to bring that information in. And then when I was done with that, she said, okay, after that was 5 years, mind you. then she said, now we're going to distill this down to the more usable, like user-friendly version, and that's the 13 Moon Oracle, which you have, many of you are familiar with, undoubtedly. It's been around for a long time anyway. If you don't know what it is and you're interested in the Divine Feminine, you need to know what it is. It's a basic tome for the Divine Feminine that was here long before that was a buzzword or a trend. Anyway, so the 13 Oracle then spawned the 13 Moon Mystery School, which is a planetary priest and priestesshood. And that now serves people through the virtual temple that we have, and we intend to build a physical one. So sometime you might want to go to the 13moonoracle.com or sanctuaryoftheopenheart.com and take the virtual tour for the temple. It's stunning what we really want to build in the physical. But what we're here to do today is to say, okay, so understanding the nature of myth and archetype is seminal to my journey. Well, it's seminal to all of our journeys, but the matter is, how do you define that for yourself? And there's some beautiful definitions that, of course, I've run into over time concerning what an archetype is, what a myth is, and thus those are the two players in a story, any story. A myth is just a bigger container for what a story is. So I'd like to start by sharing those with you. There's one definition from Martin Shaw that's just absolutely brilliant, that couldn't be said better. So I'm going to start there. Martin Shaw, the great storyteller and myth maker, says, myth is the logic of the soul. And just really take that in. Myth is the logic of the soul. Myths assist in revealing the dream that beings are bringing to life in their existence. And this is the thing that I really find interesting. Myth is not so much what to do with the past, but a kind of magical present that can flood our lives with just the conditions are just so. Something happens to us when we allow ourselves to enter into the presence of living myth. Now, if you ran into me in Trader Joe's dressed as my fairy godmother, what would your reaction be? There's something that gets pinged inside of you that says, oh, she's living her life mythically. What am I doing? Okay? That's what it does for each of us to step into our myth, into our mythic nature, however that is, whoever that is, whatever that is, allows for others to come up to the plate and do the same. It really opens the whole field for myths to occur in a much more tangible way in people's life. So we're looking at myth as being defined, and this is the Joseph Campbell version, as larger than life. Now, again, if I walk into a store, this is larger than life. And I do have a very big flowing pink dress and my wand that I bless everybody with. And I mean the whole 10 yards. This is a stripped down version for today's Zoom presentation. But myth can be defined as the larger than life archetypal patterns of awareness that we came as souls encoded to dance and evolve through. Do I need to say that again? Myths can be defined as larger than life archetypal patterns of awareness that we came as souls encoded to dance with and evolve through. Now, many of you may know these archetypes as the fool, the magician, the priestess, the great mother. You know, we all are aware, the king, the magician, we're aware of these archetypes in daily life, or in at least through our own reading of myth. But now, more than ever, we're being called to step into the myth of our lives, not to read the myths out there as somebody else's idea of reality, but to step into the myth of who we are. And so, how do we go about determining what that is? That is the key thing I want to share with you today. How do we go about determining what is the myth of our life? And who am I in that myth? The first way to determine that is to, first of all, ask, if my life is a movie, which they all are, believe me, we're living in a virtual reality hologram, you have to ask yourself, whose movie is this? Am I in my own movie? Is someone else directing my movie? Am I actually here as a personal director of my movie, or am I just a part of the invisible Matrix movie that's being promulgated by every media possible? That's the first question you have to say. Am I the director of my movie? And then that's the starting point where you start asking yourself some harder questions. Buckminster Fuller asked it this way: if success or failure of this planet and of the human beings on it depended on how I am and what I do, how would I be? What would I do? Whoa. Now that is a huge mythic descriptor. If success or failure of this planet and the human beings on it depended on how I am and what I do, how would I be? What would I do? So we start looking at the bigger story. I mean, we're all familiar with the small story and how that goes in the Hall of Mirrors. You know, it's all the crazy loop-to-loops and endless repetitive cycling of the ego mind, preoccupied entirely with the known. And that's the small story focus. But in the big story focus, we begin to look at what archetypal gifts and talents we came to share. And in the big story, there's only one question. Myth asks, if not you, who? And if not now, when? Think about that. If not you, who? If not now, when? Do you remember that wonderful, poignant moment in the never-ending story where the hero, Bastian, the young boy, has been dealing with a mythic reality that he is a part of but doesn't recognize that he's a part of. And all of a sudden, in one moment, he recognizes, oh, I'm the one that they're depending on to do this mythic quest. It's not somebody else. It's me, this little kid who thinks he's powerless. I'm the one. And that's what you have to finally ask yourself. If not you, who? And if not now, when? So determining that becomes of critical importance. So now I want you really have to put on your thinking caps here, guys, okay? This is the part where you're going to think about this. If you want to determine what your mythic archetype is and what your role is in that myth, you ask yourself first, what are my primary gifts in this lifetime? I want you to just write down or think two things. What are my primary gifts in this lifetime? Just take a moment. Okay, you ready? You tell me. If you're not ready, then yeah, I was going to say don't raise your hand, but that would be a little confusing. If you're ready for the next one, raise your hand. Okay, second question. What are the powers that I carried into this lifetime? Now, this is a longer meditation. You're going to write the question down and you're going to do a more thorough investigation of it, obviously. But for right now, what comes right up to the top right away? What are the powers that I carried into this lifetime? I hold the power of raise your hand when you're ready for the next one. This is only a sketch thing. You have to do a much deeper investigation if you intend to really get to the bottom of this question. Next one is, What tools did I bring to work with in this lifetime? What are the tools that I brought to work with? For me, it was definitely the sword. I mean, no question. The sword of truth, I came hardwired that way. My parents were horrified at how truthful I was with everyone. And finally, the last one is, what life challenges did I script to learn from as a soul? What have been your most potent challenges here? Is it physical debility? Is it mental issues? What are the challenges that you have scripted as a soul, recognizing that shadow is an equal grower of the soul to light? In other words, it's not a bad thing. It's, what are your challenges? What did you script as a challenge, a big challenge in this lifetime to work through as a soul? Okay, now finally, we will get on to discussing this, but I think it's important to get just even a toe wet in this field. Asking yourself, what is my impetus to joy? What gives me absolute delight and joy in this lifetime? What is it that I can't wait to get out of bed to do on Saturday morning? What is my joy? What is my impetus to joy? Okay, let's have a look now. Let's turn this into a discussion instead of a monologue, and have you share either questions or insights about what you've garnered about living a mythic life, about stepping into the living myth that you are intended to be living in this lifetime. What are
Ariel, do you prefer people share on chat or do you want people to raise their hands and speak out loud?
Oh, by all means outside. I don't understand the whole technological anything. So,
We've turned off chat just so you know to help people focus. But so it sounds like we're going to keep that off. And just go ahead and raise your hand, the little hand in the thing, like John's just done, and
let me
just
see
bring
how
this.
that works. Let me see if I can see a hand to do that with.
Well, it's okay. We'll take care of this. We're gonna.
Okay, if you can
I can
tell me who
do
it is,
that.
that's great.
Yeah.
John, would you like to check in?
Well, thank you for this discovery because I know I've been on the mythic path, but I haven't asked myself these direct questions.
Hmm.
I came with logic and imagination. I was lucky enough to be born to intelligent, creative parents,
Hmm.
and myth and storytelling have been part of my life all the way along. Uh, and I came with a magic wand. I hold the power of logic and creativity. Um, I give voice to ideas. My biggest challenge is relationships
Uh-huh.
with people and interactions. And what gives me joy is movement, flight, travel, just the energy of getting out and getting around.
And if you were to try and put those all together to constellate them into an archetype, what would that be for you? What archetype do you most deeply resonate with? And if you're concerned about how to figure this out, you guys, Look at who your favorite movie characters are. Okay, did that help, John?
Yeah, it's kind of like the archetypes I've always associated with were creatives like Captain Nemo, the Count of
Uh-huh.
Monte Cristo, someone who creates himself from nothing, uh, the mysterious scientist magician,
Ah,
Doctor Strange.
got it. You have a very strong magician archetype, very strong, and it holds all those qualities that you said. So this is what I want you. Thank you, John. That was very clear, and thank you for being our first example of how to quintessentialize all these things from the answers to the question and come to the thing of the center of what is the primary archetype that I'm here to embody mythically in this lifetime. Great, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to do that same jiggaroo that he just did?
Karina, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi there, it's Kariana. I actually have a question. I'm
Mhm.
not sure what the difference is between powers and tools,
Well, they could be the same thing,
or
language.
powers and gifts.
You could everything is linked holographically, and so you could say that all those things mean the same thing. Exactly. But giving you more hooks and eyes helps you to look at it from different angles. That's all. They're the same thing, really.
Okay.
But when you look at it from different angles, you get different answers. That's all. Thank you for asking. That was a good question. Anyone else?
Terry, are you with us? Are you there? And if not, we can loop back to Terry. Oh, Terry's here. Okay.
You have to remove your red thingy, though.
You'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. Um, just to synthesize this into the way I came into a directly being put into the family through um, uh, adoption.
Uh-huh.
I brought in love, openness, um, and I guess my impetus is joy, await each day, possibilities, and spreading the mission. So I would say I'm an archetype, someone who survives and a peacemaker.
So your primary archetype, as you self-defined, is a peacemaker. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to look at the tarot archetypes, for example, would you see one of those? And this is for all of you that holds the peacemaker. Is there a bigger archetypal container that holds the peacemaker?
One that just came to mind was more like the Pied Piper of bringing, and I don't know what the archetype for that, to spread the word and still not give up
Yes,
my
yes,
soul.
yes. Coco Pele.
Yes. Oh, I have him.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Coco
Because I'm
Pele.
native. I'm
Yes,
also native.
that is your archetype.
Yeah.
Totally. Person who's the Pied Piper for joy, wants everyone to be at peace and just play with each other and have fun. Isn't that beautiful that you really know already what your primary archetype is? Coco Pele. Pele. Coco Pele. There
It's
we go.
been a big mission because I was sent directly from the source. So I I respect and honor that. And at 77, I'm ready to move into this place like you are.
Yay! We're celebrating you.
Thank you.
By all means, step in and now, however, get a flute, play it on the street. Whatever it is that will really bring this archetype fully alive in you.
Yeah, Cocopelli's in my yard and on a shirt. I'll wear them
No, no, no,
today.
no. I'm talking about you stepping into that archetype, my dear.
Yeah,
That means you getting a flute, you going out on the streets, not in your backyard, and being that archetype to help awaken others through your mythic expression.
well, I'm meeting with my metaphysical group this afternoon. So
Go for it. Do
thank
something.
you.
Do
I
something
am.
Coco Paley like.
Thank you so much.
Blessed be. Anyone else? Hands up. Okay, you guys have to decide.
We've got Ray next.
Ray.
Mhm.
Um, this is going to be a little symbolic as well as maybe predictory as well. What would happen if I bumped down and went behind Dorothea and Mandy Ann?
Well, since we live in timelessness, probably nothing, but we can have it check it out. Let's go after Dorothea, shall we? And then we'll come back to you. We'll leapfrog back. Dorothea?
Well, one thing that happened was I went back in time to before I was born, and there was red and black and screaming and crying, and I said, I don't want to go. And a voice said, be the bell. And in the upper left-hand part of my brain, I saw a bell surrounded in blue light. And I have been trying to ferret out what that means. I think I came with a lighted torch as my symbol. My favorite protagonists are Antigone. Antigone is my very favorite because she was able to align herself with truth. And so what would be my archetype, I wonder?
Wow, that's a juicy one. Let's see. Let's really feel into that. Well, first of all, a truth teller is aligned with the initiator archetype. Do you find yourself needing to say the truth to everybody, regardless of whether they want to hear it or not?
Yeah, I do.
Well, that's the primary thing. Then your primary archetype is the initiator. But just wanted to say in the Mayan archetypal system, I wrote a book called The Mayan Oracle that is the extraterrestrial archetypes. In the Mayan system, you would be Ben, which is a bridge between heaven and earth. And its hallmark is I am a struck bell.
Oh,
Once struck, there is no return.
oh,
And so your energy, your resonance just naturally goes out and touches other people like a bell's does.
I love Ben, Ben,
En is the Mayan
Mayan.
Mayan archetype. If I can find oh yeah, let's see. I can get that deck out and I'll show you who Ben is. It's this one.
And
is that in the picture?
oh,
So
yeah,
you are
it's like a chime.
cannot make this work. It goes backwards and forwards and not. Yeah, it's like pillars, but you're the thing
I
that
see it. I see it.
you bridge between heaven and earth. You are that, which is the sound of heaven and earth there in the center. Ben, yeah,
That's wonderful.
I highly recommend you have
And I'm a writer.
well, that figures. Trying to bridge heaven to earth and tell the truth. What better line of work could there be than that? I am in the same ilk. Oh,
Thank you so much. That's so useful.
that was useful for me too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. This is so generative. So many hands are raised. People are loving this. Next we have Mandian. You might have to help me pronounce your name. Is it Mandian?
Yes, Mandy Ann. So as we're writing through everything, it started to feel like I was getting stuck with just choosing two, especially at the end with Joy. But when you said, pick who are your favorite movie characters, and I wrote well-dressed witches, and I thought, oh, that's a little bit shallow. And then Samantha.
Not necessarily.
Well, Samantha from Bewitched was probably my first love, and I was obsessed with her as a child of growing up. And I liked it when she was able to be in her full, like, regalia, to be herself. You could see more of her true self, and especially if she's riding the broomstick and doing those things. And so I was just working with that last question was just brought everything together as I look back through what I wrote with the answers with I'm going to own that archetype. I like that, that witch who's in her full openness of the flowing robes.
Yeah, in my vernacular of archetypal, in the 13 moon oracle archetypes, that's the priestess, the one who lives on the edge of the woods, and people come to for herbs, come to for advice, come to for love. Yeah, that's the vernacular of the archetype that you in the divine feminine archetypes, it's called the priest or priestess.
Mm.
So,
I
but
can,
which is good, that works, except for in our culture, that word
yeah,
does not work well, you know.
right,
Neither
right.
does priestess for that matter,
No.
but a little less disharmonious for most people than
Yeah.
witch.
But thank you. Thank you. This was really valuable. Thank you.
I'm so delighted. Thank you. Oh, and Ray, you're going to have to tell us when you're up to bat after all these other people. You'll.
Yeah, I agree. Elias is going to have to step forward. Um, Thank you, both you women who jumped in at the invitation. Um, John, thank you for being alive. So it kind of goes like this. Um, Once upon a time, I gathered up all my courage and managed to get myself noticed as a storyteller. A few people who've tried this path have a really tough time paying the bills. So now that I am keeping a roof over my head and place for my boys to be able to come home to, and working in healthcare, in a position that everybody who knows me believes, as I do, that this is the right place. This is it. This storyteller ability of holding the space so everyone can remember themselves. And you get to do lots of research as well. Healthcare is work that is carried by women.
Where
Often
are we going with this, Ray? I'm really
I
wondering.
have I have an uncanny ability to offend the feminine,
Ooh,
particularly the young feminine. Oh, I
that's
just
an
saw
interesting.
John nod.
That's an interesting challenge to have given yourself to really look at
Mhm.
why that is, what it is that is. But my concern today is for you to say, in this vernacular, where we are with this particular question is, so are you satisfied with yourself being a storyteller archetype? That in the 13 moon archetypes is a weaver dreamer. That's someone who weaves stories and thus weaves realities. Would you say that that's an accurate archetypal description for you?
Yes, and the thing that I need to add to it before I die is song and singing
Right.
and vocalizing. So it's the same sort of thing, but I realize I've been hiding behind storytelling because I'm insecure about singing.
Good awareness, because even if you think you can't sing, everyone can sing, and that adds so much to storytelling. I have to just tell you a quick little quip that I had invited Leah up to do an initiation process with me up here in the Upper Bay. That was a magical interface with somebody who was being initiated, that she just walked into the restaurant where we were supposedly having dinner and sat down at our table, and the person that was being initiated was like, what's going on? This person is just walking up to our table at a restaurant. What's going on here? And then she began to sing. And I'm telling you what, the magic that happened that came out of that, she just did this little, very short little song, but it was clear we had entered into a different realm. We were in a mythic realm. because people don't just A, sit down at your table, B, burst out in song the first thing they meet you, do they? Right? So that would be a fantastic tool to add to your tool belt as a storyteller, sacred storyteller. I encourage you to do that. Thank you so much.
So that makes sense then,
Yeah.
that right now the job is to help weave that new dream in which folks who look like me manage to hold all of the whatever it is that I don't understand about the feminine, or be willing to step there somehow and put it to song. I don't know, but it's I could lose this job very easily because it's so. I can walk into a room and offend 3/4 of the women that are there.
Wait, I've got a way through. Walk into the room and sing. Walk into the room and sing, my friend Ray, and you will have a very different response from those women. Any woman here not agree? You'll have a totally different response if you were to be vulnerable and risk coming in and singing. I challenge you as an initiator to do that and see what happens.
Fairy godmother, thank you for the right challenge.
You are just so welcome. Blessed be.
Thank you, Ray. Rika?
Right, I shall try and turn the video on and see if that breaks down my internet or not. Thank you for this. It is so inspiring to see everybody sharing their position. I am less experienced and less clear on all of this, but some things I could answer: life challenges, loss, and constraints from growing up with few resources and little emotional support in the family. My father died early. I didn't even think to take my grief to my mother because we didn't have that kind of connection. And sort of being left behind or being an outsider of the group.
And now the good news is, tell me the gifts.
And gifts or powers or tools would be acceptance, logic, imagination, a kind of translation. I seem to be pretty good at phrasing things in a way that somebody can understand if they didn't understand the first phrasing. So interfacing between people with different vocabulary as well. Empathy. And I seem
let's all those things that you've said so far are things that a person that I'd call like Thoth or a scribe or a babblefish in the Douglas Adams version of reality, someone who translates for other people. Are you a writer?
Not really, no. The other big gift is singing. And the thing that gives me joy is singing in harmony with others. So making music with others. And I seem to have a thing about needing to argue the other side, particularly if accusations are being brought against someone who's not part of the conversation.
So
the devil's advocate thing.
Like justice is really important to you, equality, fairness,
Yes.
that. So an archetype for you would be Ma'at. The Egyptian Ma'at would be a carrier of the frequencies of what you're talking about. I would ask you to investigate that archetype and see if it resonates with you. In the 13 Moon Oracle deck, it would be in the initiator. Ma'at, I believe, is in the initiator. So, but have a look at that archetype because I feel like that will assist you in honing the gifts that you brought in and being a translator for others and serving justice.
Thank you. That's not one I'm familiar with. I'm excited to explore, which is the last thing that I wanted to mention. I like traveling and exploration, both of the mind and in person.
Yes, a psychonaut.
And with other people. Touch is very important to me.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, I'll spell it for you so you can have a closer look. Maat. Maat.
Art. Okay, thank you. That's how I transcribed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're a trans. You're a trans.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Rika.
Anyone else?
Ariel, we've got a lot of people that are signed up. Are you wanting to keep, is this the majority of our time? I just want to check in to see if you're ready for more.
Ready for more what? Ice cream or what?
Oh, well, there's a lot of people here that I think, I mean, this is amazing. You're giving everyone all of these archetypal information. So we're loving it. If you're willing to keep waving your fairy wand.
For sure.
Okay, well, we've got Angela up next. Angela, are you with us?
Hi, I am with you, but I can't, my camera isn't working, so I hope that I can just speak.
Oh,
That
yeah.
sounds good.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, so for a lot of my life, I've embodied and worked with the Fool archetype a lot, like decades of that. Um, and I have natural gifts in communication and play and storytelling and connection and bridge building and play the sacred fool and so on. My question is that in recent times, it's like the opportunities to do these things have closed or closed down a lot more than they used to. And I'm wondering if there's a different archetype opening, or does that ever happen? Because I can get a little bit confused about why I have all this experience, but at the moment I am doing a lot more inner work, but I'm just wondering
That's
what
a
you might
great
think.
question for all of us to say, okay, we come hardwired with a particular archetype. That everyone has one particular archetype that they're very strong in. That's the hardwiring. And then we dabble with others and embrace others at different points in our journeys. Of the 13 moon, the 12 of the 13 divine feminine archetypes in the 13 moon oracle, um, I'd say I embody at least 4 of them really, really strongly by this point in my journey. So that's not unusual. What I'm hearing from you is maybe shifting to something like the muse archetype, which is the bigger container that the fool would exist within. And if you want to go to the 13 moon oracle, what is it called? No, 13moonmysteryschool.com. There is an archetypal quiz, and that you could put in the chat for them, honey, afterward, Leah. Yeah, that there's an archetypal quiz in there that will, after you take it, will give you a really clear idea of what your primary archetype is and some tertiary ones. So I'd recommend that you do that. It's I can never remember. It's isn't that Amber? Isn't that what it's called? 13moonmysteryschool.com. The regular
Yes.
okay, good. That
Yes.
or sanctuaryoftheopenheart.com, either one. But it'll say archetypal quiz. And that is what I would ask you, Angela, to go and have a look at and feel into. But as your journey's shifting away from, and it doesn't necessarily need to shift away from the Fool either, by the way, sweetheart. That's a very important archetype.
Yeah.
And a necessary one. And so I hope that you maintain doing that, that you don't just drop it, that you create the situations that the Fool, you know, I get out on the street corners. I don't wait for somebody to invite me to do something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fool, you know. So I encourage you to do that too. I get my caterpillar suit on and my hookah and I go do readings in Fairfax on the corner. You know? I encourage you to be a fool, first of all, and then do the this came up, I think, so that I could remember to say to everyone to do the archetypal quiz.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great.
Thank you, Ariel.
Speed. Okay, any other hand? There's still hands.
We've got hands. We've got Maureen next. Maureen?
Yes, hi. I'm 76 and I'm feeling an urgency to get all this figured out before my window of opportunity closes. I'm loving the energy that you exude. So my story, I'm a storyteller in that I do interactive things with kids. I'm a sculptor and I work with clay. I wear a Mother Earth costume sometimes, but I think I'm a disruptor. My tools are I'm very curious. I ask a lot of questions. They come natural to me. There's so many questions. I'm also a mirror for people. I reflect back to them who they are. I think they see themselves through the work that I put out there. And so it's about them. But I have a big ego, so I try to make it about me, but it's about them.
Well,
Um,
at
so
least you're aware of that. That's great.
yeah, so I'm curious. I'm curious. I think of myself as a disruptor,
Could I
but
have a
but
moment
my challenge is that I'm a people pleaser due to my childhood.
That's a bad combination plate.
It's a bad combination.
Okay, here's why. I would call myself, rather than a disruptor, an iconoclast. Do you know what an iconoclast is?
I do not.
It literally means an image breaker. That's what you do by disrupting. You're shattering someone's image of who they think they are. And that, my friend, is being an initiator,
Uh-huh.
a truth teller. The iconoclast in me, I'm a total iconoclast. Any way I can break someone's image of who they think I am, if they put me up on a pedestal, I'll immediately fart. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to be in anybody's vernacular up on a pedestal. And so I break images all the time to make sure that's the case. I celebrate you in that role as an iconoclast.
Thank you.
And I ask you to look when you do this archetypal quiz at the initiator, and I think you'll be checking off most of the boxes there.
Okay. Thank you. What a joy.
Thank you.
Okay, Maureen is 78 and we're figuring it out. Thank you, Ariel. Adrian, you're up next.
Okay, just learning how to use this. Hi, this is so much fun. I love this. So I think, for me, my Tibetan name that I was given in a monastery by the abbot was Lopsing Dorme, and that is the lamp that dispels the darkness. And in Tibetan Buddhism, it's funny because when I was living in a monastery for a while in Nepal, and it didn't occur to me that the lamps that they were talking about weren't like a Pixar lamp, but it was like, these big butter lamps, these big bowls that people come and travel from all over with butter to, so it's like a collective kind of contribution to keep these lamps going. And so that was something that I don't know if that falls into archetypes. For some reason, I find archetypes a little bit elusive. And so that was something that for me, it was always kind of, it felt really true for me when that was. And I guess I'll share a little bit more about answers to the questions that you had. And then I have a question around how to actually use the archetype to help overcome life challenges. Because I find myself, like, as I'm looking through this for the first time, I'm like, oh, it's interesting. So some of my powers are creativity and curiosity. Like, I work with systems, I work with sustainability, community development, arts. Gifts are holding ceremony and heart. Joys are connecting people to themselves, each other, nature. And my name, Adrian, is that which grows from fertile soil. So I feel like somehow that's part of the whole mix. And then the challenges that I've had, and I kind of just realized this, that the two main challenges I've had in my life are health, which has completely stopped me in my tracks. With Lyme disease, I was not able to articulate. I wasn't able to get up in front of a group and facilitate. or when I was teaching a class at university, I could not get my words together to actually teach the class, and I internalized that, and it was really hard for me. Um, and same thing with facilitating other groups, and then also while I was having experiences like that happening, I was also attracting a certain dominating personality that would almost kind of put me down for that. And so I'm wondering, how can I use archetypes to help me, um, you know, not just, okay, shine my light, but like, how can I use archetypes? I don't even know if that is what their role is for, but it feels like there might be something there.
How can you use archetypes to what? I didn't get the end of that.
To let me shine my light.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like, is there a certain kind of archetype beyond just being a light bearer or something that can help me overcome the challenges in my life, like walk through them?
The one thing that immediately arises for me is the Lady of Communion. That is like the Diana or Artemis archetype. It's green and gold. And as you were speaking, your whole field was going green and gold. And so it's not like I'm just guessing about this. I'm just telling you that that's a primary archetype that you carry, that you have a gift with connecting with the earth and really being, in honoring of the earth and loving animals and, that kind of thing. So I don't know how to answer your question in regards to how you can use that archetype to move through the challenges that you have, but I feel like if you work with that archetype, and that could be Artemis or Diana or any version of, there are many that are under the aegis of the archetype of the Lady of Communion. Do any of you have 13 moon oracles? I know Amber does, but Leah does. If you are at all interested in the archetypal divine feminine, you need and that's you too, John, because it's all about consciousness. And Ray is not really just about divine feminine, it's about divine consciousness. But it's so important to be able to have this overview that the 13 moon oracle that Mother worked through me gives us, of being able to see the divine. Maybe it'll help you, Ray, with your dealing with the feminine, to be able to look through all those lenses of the divine feminine, and especially the ones that you most deeply resonate with, will assist you in every aspect of your existence. If we just backtrack to the definition of what an archetype is, I think we can get more traction. Jung defines archetypes as form constants that exist in and define a field of consciousness that is beyond time, space, and the individual. Form constants that exist in and define consciousness beyond time, space, and the individual. So archetypes are these blueprints that are much larger than life. They're much larger than an individual life. And it's very, for me, essential. If I want to graduate from the Earth School of the Hall of Mirrors, it's been very important for me to recognize that as I move into more expanded expressions of myself archetypally, and out of the limiting and defined definitions of who I am as a personality here on earth in my ego mind, the more likelihood I'll have of ending up in a life in the next time in a frequency realm, for example, without having to have a body, for example, which is what my goal is in this lifetime. Anyway, but if you use your definitions even as an archetype, that can be limiting. But if you're still functioning on, I'm a mother, I'm a lover, I'm a this, I'm a this, if that's the level that you're functioning on, that's what you're going to get more of. So I really ask you to look at the overview through the larger archetypal lensings of life, to graduate to that more expanded view of self, at least, before you transit out of the need for no identifications whatsoever into pure consciousness. Did that make sense? I hope so. I think that, I mean, that's my primary message I want to deliver is that archetypes are just a step on the way too, but they're a hell of a lot more expanded than your ego personality's definition of itself. What you see sitting behind Amber here is the moon board that's in the box of the 13 Moon Oracle. It is an overview of all the archetypes, all the tools, all the frequencies. It is like a map in one place of the archetypal realms. It is a very valuable tool. So I hope that sometime you get a copy of the 13 Oracle, even if it's just for that. Now, look, this is not being a salesperson because I didn't write this thing. I just listened really well. Let me just tell you, it's Mother's material. I happen to be a good listener. So I'm not promoting it. It's not self-promoting. I'm saying I'm trying to let you know that having a grasp of the archetypal realms is a very important part of the journey of being a myth maker, a storyteller, whatever you want to call yourself. It's a very important thing. And I think we're now down to you, Leah, that there's an interface there that you want to really bring this together for us with story and myth and how you've been working with these people.
Absolutely. And Ariel, oh my gosh. Like I am just delighted, just absolutely delighted by this experience today, and so appreciating your generosity of spirit to be with each of us, and to really, it's like it's one thing to have it conceptually, it's another thing to get to go through and hear so many different versions of story and understanding self, and then to get to understand how to explore archetype through so many different portals. So thank you for giving that to us. It was really amazing. And if you're not going to promote you, I will. Here's I'll just add this. This is a sacred storytelling summit, and a lot of our, and the original, what sparked the ignition was that we're bringing on, 14 new teachers, and I wanted to give an opportunity to introduce everyone to them. But so as we started to put together, the muse started speaking to me, and she was like, this could be so much more exciting and fun. And I was like, it could? And the muse was like, yeah, because you really believe that sacred storytelling should be in every sector of the world. And I was like, you're right, I do. And you think that this is a really big story that's so much bigger than the School for Sacred Storytelling. And I was like, you're right, Muse, that's so true. And so we got used by the Muse to really create an ample space for this greater conversation. And when I started thinking about who did I want to bring into this space to nurture this great conversation, Ariel flew into my etheric sphere. And I was like, yes, what an extraordinary piece of the sacred fabric that we're all weaving, and the 13 Moon Mystery School has been such an extraordinary part of my own experience. And I have to tell you, I'm from the East Coast, and especially I'm from the Northeast Coast in Vermont. And so I was born with an allergy. My mom's very proud because she breastfed me and she said, I gave you no allergies. And that's true, except for that I'm allergic to woo-woo stuff. And and so to go to the 13 Moon Mystery School, you have to understand, it goes a little against like the fabric of my beingness, because it has, this kind of expression. But I told this story a little bit yesterday, and I'll share just an inch of it. Which was that part of my journey was going to the edge of the ocean and making a big prayer and being shown, just like, say, please show me the way, show me the way. And I immediately heard, nothing, which I was not me speaking, because I was in my early 30s and I knew everything. So as soon as I heard, nothing, I was like, well, this isn't me talking. And then it said, you're a priestess in training. And I was like, oh, gross. Like, what is that? That's so gross, because I had no context. I had no context for what that meant. And then soon enough, this amazing school, the 13 Moon Mystery School, was introduced to me. And I thought, wow, this archetypal energy. And the 13 archetypes, they came to me in a dream when I was trying to determine if I should do this. Kali came right for me. And and I can't encourage you enough to, there's so many different aspects of foundational learnings. I don't think it matters what age you are in when you get to come to this doorway. And so much now you go into the realm of Instagram and Facebook, and there's so much posturing about what people think something is supposed to look like or feel like. And one of the things I deeply value about Ariel's work and what she started was that it was before all of that. And it feels extremely authentic and grounded in both the ethereal, but also what it is to walk in the world as a practical whole human. And so I just can't say enough things about my experience with Ariel. And she told that story about me going into that restaurant singing. Some people think that storytellers are like bards, and they've got these big personalities and they can roll into a place and just be that. That's not me. That's not me. But Ariel calls something out in my presence that makes it possible for me to stand up and fully embody that magical space. And may we all be so blessed as to find those mentors and those teachers and those guides and those fairy godmothers that call out the greatest expression that is living inside of you, just waiting for a place to be invited into. So I put the links there. And Ariel, you taught a class. I know that you have a class that's also in our master teacher library at the school. You've been weaving in and out for a while. And yeah,
I don't remember because remember, I live in timelessness.
it's good. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, little book called, if you're interested in being a priestess, this is called, that I put together, called Guidebook for a Modern Priestess. But the main tome, the huge big box, this is what we call the temple in the box. I'll give you a visual of what the 13, if I can get it to look
Yeah,
there.
you can see
That's
it.
what the 13 moon looks like. It's a temple in a box with moon boards, with CDs, with tokens, I mean, it's a lifetime curriculum in the Divine Feminine. It is not a book.
It really isn't.
It's
It
not.
cannot be read cover to cover, that's for sure. But it can be absorbed in these incredible nuggets. And I'm going to open our chat now. And Ariel, is there anything else that you want to say before we?
That was pretty much it, just to say, I'm almost 80 and I really am encouraging you to step in, whatever age you are, into a more archetypal expression of who you are, to really investigate that with earnestness, because we need everyone to step up into the myth of who they are right now. No, no more small story ego line stories. We need the big stories from all of you stepping in. So that's pretty much the wrap up of what I wanted to communicate today. We need everybody. And I would love for you to come on a call sometime. Amber is one of our absolutely central players in our free Zoom calls at the sanctuary, but we have like 8 a month that are all from extremely deep meditations to lighthearted tea parties, you know? So come and to have a taste of the 13 moon family, the sanctuary of the open heart. And they'll get the link to that, right?
Yes,
And Amber, it looks like you have your hand raised, so I just want, if Amber wants to pop in here.
I don't know where she went. There you are. You have to
And,
there you
and
go.
before, Amber, if you don't mind, before speaking, I just want to put one more thing in. Before everybody goes, one of the things that we love to do is give a little sunshine back to our generous speakers and transmissioners. And so if you just want to share what you received today, if there's something that you're anchoring in, if there's something that you're taking away, we can both listen to Amber. Don't go away. We still want to hear you. I just
She's there. She's there.
Okay, good. Okay.
Go, Amber.
Aloha. Happy Aloha Friday. Thank you so much, Ariel, for being the bright, shining light that you are, for sharing your gifts, your wisdom, your joy, for being a phenomenal fairy godmother, and for your dedication. Yeah. Woohoo! And your dedication to love. Your dedication to love. You make a difference. You make a huge difference in people's lives. And this body of work has forever changed my life. in 3 years, I am not the same person at all. And I have to laugh when I listen to all the things that went through today, how many initiators were in the group too. Because in the deck, Ariel is the face of the initiator on the card. And it is truly a phenomenal card. But thank you for the initiations that you bring to all of us. Thank you for your gifts of love. Thank you for sharing your light with the world. You have indeed made it a better place. And deep bows to you. I love you, fairy godmother.
Now I have to turn the mirror back and say that to you and all of you, to mirror back to you your magnificence, your love, your amazing archetypal selves. I really have to mirror that back to all of you. I'm just one tiny piece of the puzzle, and we're all that same beautiful piece, intricately designed. Thank you. And were you going to go on from there, Leah, or was I popping off now?
I think what we're going to do now is just if everyone can place what they're thinking and feeling and receiving in the chat box, and we'll save that and we're going to send that to you at the end, Ariel. And I'm just going to make a little plug. There are 2 amazing things happening, 3 amazing things happening, but in 50 minutes, we're going to come back. We're going to do something that is so unique. We've never done it before, which Sean Kane, who wrote Wisdom of the Myth Tellers, who is really like one of the great grand understanders of myth, but he doesn't do this. He doesn't go on Zoom. He doesn't do public speaking. He writes, and he writes brilliantly and with such great depth. And he wanted to support what we're doing here and our wondering, so he gave us something that's never been published, just for us to sit and study and wonder together around. So if you're in the mood to co-read this piece that's been gifted to us and wonder with one of the great mythologists of our time, that's happening. And then at 3 p.m. we have a very special thing happening. I mean, very special. Every single one of these things is so special. That's what's been kind of outrageous. But at 3 p.m. we have also Michael Mead, who is one of our
Oh my God, you've got Michael Mead coming on. Oh my God.
Right.
Incredible.
Just amazing. And he'll be with us talking about the stories from the edge of time, and he'll be talking story. And he's also spoken with us. And, if you just want a big heart transmission, you're going to have to stand. If you don't want to get a big heart transmission, you're going to have to stand like 20 feet back from your computer, because it's a beautiful experience. So those are, and then we also have another class at the end of the day. All of this is in your email. If you're here, you're getting the emails. So just sending so much love. And let's all take ourselves off mute and send Ariel off with blessings and gratitude and
Thank you.
Hooray! Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now.
Thank you.
Well done.
Sending you love.
Thank you, Fairy Godmother.
Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you.
Blessed day.
Thank you. Have a lovely day, all.
You
I'll stay
bet.
on for just 1 second if anyone has any questions.